What's up, guys? FrugalBC, and today we are going to talk about the investing mindset. Hey guys, welcome back to the FrugalBC channel. Today I'm going to talk about a very important concept called the investing mindset. Before we get into that, if you would so kindly hit the like and subscribe button, always much appreciated. Just for that accent, you should hit the like and subscribe button, I think. Anyway, I want to talk today about the investing mindset because this is the number one thing I see with people and why they lose money. There's a lot of ways to earn money in the stock market, and there's a lot more ways to lose them, whether it's the stock market or cryptocurrencies or anything. You see this over and over again, and I just cringe because, man, people end up losing so much money where they could actually gain. So I really think there's some ways to do this where you can do it right, and there's a lot of ways to do it wrong. So we're going to talk about that today. So how to gain and not lose money, right? So the most important strategy, in my opinion, is to buy and hold. This is the safest method to gain over time. Now, when you do this, you're essentially saying that I believe that this thing is going to go up over time. It's not going to make me money tomorrow. It might be down tomorrow. It might be down next week. But this is the belief, and it's based on historical data that things are going to go up over time. Now, we've seen with Bitcoin, we've seen like a really fast rise with occasional crashes like the one we're in now. And there's a strategy for that. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Generally speaking, the best strategy that's proven from data is to simply buy and hold, and you will gain value over time. Fortunately, most people do the opposite of that. I want to talk a little bit about this phenomenon because we're seeing this right now with Bitcoin. This is what happened. So the price was, in the high 50s, and it dropped to as low as 30, 31, I think, and it's kind of like bounced back up and down a few times. So what did we see and this has happened over and over again. This happened back in 2017, where when the prices are rising, I'll back up a little bit. Everyone knows that buying highs or buying low and selling high is like, great, you're making money, right? Pretty obvious, but a lot of people don't do that. And here's why they don't do that. Because when people see the prices going up, so 2017 with Bitcoin is a great example. The prices were going up. It got everyone excited. All the headlines were saying Bitcoin price a new high. Everyone's like, I got to get on this. You saw people who were like borrowing money. These are people that didn't have a lot of money, generally speaking, were borrowing money to buy Bitcoin when it was at its highest. Of course, they didn't know it was at its highest, and it wasn't as highest later on. But if you're leveraging like that, you're putting yourself in a very dangerous position. And that's what happened. They end up buying high, and then when it sells, everyone panics. So when you see the price drop, I shouldn't say sell. When you see the price go down, that's when everyone panics and they sell. But that's the wrong time to sell. So the psychology, it's different knowing that I should buy low and sell high. Most people do the opposite because of the psychology of it. So what do you do instead? And we're going to get to this quote from Daniel Kahneman. He's wrote one of my favorite books, Thinking Fast and Slow. Highly recommend you guys check that out. But the more optimal strategy is to buy and hold. And how do you do that? I like to do what's called dollar cost averaging. And you'll do this naturally if you're getting paid every 2 weeks and you put a little bit of money into Bitcoin or you put it into the index funds. And by the way, just to be clear, I'm not a financial advisor, and don't take any of this as like solid financial advice. I'm just telling you what I do. But what I do is every time I get paid, I put a little bit of money into Bitcoin. I put a lot more into my index funds. And dollar cost averaging, basically the idea is that you're putting little amounts of money in over time. Sometimes you're going to buy high, sometimes you're going to buy low. The average is that, I'll kind of even out, right? So that's you'll do this naturally if you're just buying it as you get paid. Now, there's some debate about if you get a large sum, should I put it in all at once or should I dole it out? The problem with doling it out too long is that you're losing the opportunity cost of the gains where you didn't put that money in yet. So if I do it over 6 months, if the market went up a lot in those 6 months, I missed out on those gains. So that's something to think about. Now, why do I generally stick with index funds, and then that's most of my portfolio. And then a small part of my portfolio is cryptocurrency. I think cryptocurrency is great. I believe in the product. I believe in the idea of it. It's also very volatile right now, and I think it has a lot of opportunity for growth, but I'm hedging it with more predictable index funds that just tend to go up over time because it manages the whole market. The market tends to go up over time because most of the politicians are owned by Wall Street. So I'm aligning myself with Wall Street. I think that's a safe bet. So here's a stat, because Daniel Kahneman studied, these professional guys on Wall Street. And he asked a bunch of the fund managers. So these are the guys in charge of these businesses, and asked them, well, how much correlation do you think there is between individual money managers and success rate? And these guys were pretty honest. They're like, probably not much. And he's like, actually, it's almost zero. So here's a stat from that book, is that 99.9%, and almost all of them, of actively managed funds won't beat the market over 30 years. So what does that tell you? That tells you that if you were simply bought an index fund, which is all the stocks in the market, depending on what it is, I mean, there's different indices, but say you're just the total S&P 500, for example, if you just put all your money into that, over time, it will be worth more than people who have tried to put a portfolio together. Obviously, there's exceptions, and in the short term, some of these might outgain it, but in the long term, over 30 years, and there's some stat about, like, I think only half of them are even in existence, let alone have been able to beat the market. So index funds are the way to go, in my opinion. Now, so here's a quote from Warren Buffett. He talks about being fearful when others are greedy, and greedy is when others are fearful. And that kind of ties into what Mr. Mooney Mustache says too. He says, and this is kind of not in a direct quote, but sort of taking all the things he said and the basic idea of it. So when stocks are up, great, you're making money. When they're down, they're on sale. So this is a good attitude. And both him and Warren Buffett's attitudes are pretty similar. When other people are greedy, say when we're having a huge bull run on Bitcoin, that's probably the time to be like, I better back off a little bit. If you're making regular pay, if your strategy is to make regular investments, then you should keep doing that. I think it's fine. It's going to drop, so you're going to lose a little on the drop, but overall, if you've been steadily making investments, like I told you before, it's going to even out. And you should be greedy when others are fearful. And that is right now with Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin is at the lowest it's been in quite some time. Now is a great time to buy it if you believe in its overall value. And I personally do. I'm not telling you to buy Bitcoin, but I'll give another example. Back in March of 2020, the stock markets, went through the floor, almost as bad as Bitcoin right now. And a lot of people might be tempted to remove their money because they're fearful. That's what happens. It sounds like the opposite of what you should do, and it is the opposite of what you should do. And when people see that drop, their fear kicks in. I just lost a bunch of money. I'm going to pull that out. So I think the way to think about this too is to not really worry about the price too much in that sense. And in the sense of the stuff that you own, because you still own that. So I have the same amount of Bitcoin as I did before the crash. In fact, I have a little more because I bought. So I still have that tangible asset, or intangible, I guess, as Bitcoin is. So the price right now isn't super relevant because I'm not planning to sell it or do anything with it. So other than a number on a paper, that's what it is. And in fact, when it's low, I have a decreased entry point. I can buy Bitcoin at a lower price, so that later on, when it goes back up, I will make money. And that's exactly what I did in 2020 in March with the stock market. I didn't buy any more than I normally would have. In fact, I probably did a little less because my hours were cut for a little while there, but I kept investing in that time period. And the fact that I was essentially getting stocks on sale is the reason why my net worth shot up so much at the end of 2020 and then into the first half of 2021. So it's made a huge difference. But you have to be greedy, or in other words, you have to be willing to buy in when other people are like, oh my God, it's crashing. And you probably lose some. You might see it going down, you buy some, it goes down even more. But you can't think short term, you have to think long term with anything investing. So this is kind of the mindset I want to talk about. It's the same for index or crypto, it doesn't matter. So that's the whole thing. I'm going to stop my share here. And I guess I just want to talk about that because I feel like I see a lot of people making the same mistakes over and over. When you see it going up and up and up, that's when everyone gets excited about it, but that's probably the worst time to buy. And the only reason I would buy is if you are still in a dollar cost average strategy where you're just going to keep buying steadily no matter what, then you don't worry about it. But if you're looking for a good entry when it's rising, that's not when you should get in, or that's not when you should say, gosh, that Bitcoin thing, look how much that's going up, I should get into on that too. What you should do is look historically, how much has it gone up? Oh, that's a good thing to get into. I should wait for a price drop and then jump in. Anyway, keep that principle in mind. When the market is up, you're making money. When it's down, stocks are on sale and you can buy more at discount prices. This is the principle that I want you to take away from today. And also Warren Buffett's, when others are greedy, be fearful. And when others are fearful, be greedy. I hope you got something out of that. I hope people who are just getting new into the crypto or investing space can take some value from that. This is stuff that I've seen over and over in my own, and I know the psychology behind it. It can be really scary. I think I told this story on here before, but in 2016, I first got into investing, and my first deposit into my Wealthfront account came right before Brexit. So I put 500 in, and all of a sudden I had like 460. You're like, what the hell? This investing thing is stupid. I don't want to do this. I'm just losing money. But I knew from so much reading, I knew intellectually that this is just part of the game. Don't worry about it. It will go up over time. And that's easier said than done. Psychologically, it feels a lot different. It's very difficult. So you have to kind of steel yourself. And that was nice. That was a nice little, it was a nice little on-ramp, because that prepared me for March of 2020 when it dropped so much. I mean, that's a sinking feeling when you see that. So you have to get used to that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this and got something out of it. I hope you learned something today. Hit the like and subscribe button. I say that all the time, but it really helps. And thanks so much to everyone who's subscribed so far. It's been cool to kind of see my channel take off a little bit. Hoping to get to 100 subs by the end of the year, and then maybe 1,000 by the next year. That might be ambitious, but I appreciate it. So thanks so much. Hope you learned something. Leave me a comment, and we'll see you next time.